Hi y'all, welcome to the second episode of SAPL Variety. I'm your host JD, along
With me, Lorin.
and our guest today is renowned artist Rubio. So glad you can make it.
Thank you so much. Excited to be here.
So we've got, I don't know what is on in view or whatever, we've got some of the books Alex is in.
Rubio.
Excuse me, I'm so sorry, Rubio. He fired Alex. And we'll be talking about that and his career, starting out with your origins back in mid-'80s to early 90s. Do you want to take us
Yes.
back?
Oh, all the way back, actually. It all started with a drawing. I think that that's like the most important, part of being a creative person. People find creativity in everything, whether it's music or writing, creative writing, cooking, all that is, I guess, creative energy that myself as a mentor, as an instructor, recruit and seek out in our San Antonio, youth population. And I think that I was lucky enough to have a really good parent that supported, my I guess my creative energy, and I started drawing at as early back as I can remember, at age 10, I think. By age 12 I kind of had a nice little portfolio, which really came in handy because one day I was painting in my neighborhood on a wall. Back then we didn't have graffiti, the graffiti movement that we have here in San Antonio today. It was a lot more just kind of just making a mark on a wall and writing your tag name and stuff like that. Well, when I was young, I wanted to take it a step further and wanted to create contour drawings with black aerosol on wall, I call it. So sure enough, I was one of those kids that took to my wall with a canvas spray paint, and then my mother warned me. She goes, "What's going on?" I go, "Well, the housing authority is looking for me, because I grew up in the housing projects, in the Mirasol housing projects in the west side of San Antonio." And I was, like I said, I've been lucky enough to be able to, I guess, navigate, the art scene. Even back then, I showed up and I showed the housing authority manager and an artist from the Community Cultural Arts Organization, my portfolio. And the next thing I know, I'm hired. I show up to the studio at the Casiano Homes housing projects off of Thompson Street, and that is where the majority of the West Side housing project murals are located, and that was their home base.
So the Housing Project Authority, did you say?
Yeah, that was my first job was with Housing Urban Development through HUD. It was a program sponsored through them called Community Cultural Arts Organization.
So their goal is to beautify the city, or?
Yes, definitely. I think that's the main objective, is to create beautiful murals that inspire future generations of youth. And I know I did, because I remember seeing those murals when I would go take the bus through their neighborhood.
Yeah.
This was the first time that they were passing through my neighborhood in the Mirasol housing projects off of El Paso and Chamacmullen. So I had already learned of their reputation and seen their murals. So I was very proud and honored to be recruited directly off the street to work on these public art projects.
Sweet. Lauren, do you want to show some of his art? And we can keep talking.
Yeah, I have a couple of images here of that early work.
Yeah, and there should be one that's
yeah.
showing right now.
Sure, this is an image of 18-year-old Rubio, way back in the day, and I was working with Rudy Limon and a couple of the kids from the neighborhood there, and that was our job. We would research and design the most important aspects of what community is facing, in their immediate area. Whether it's a political issue or a cultural issue, sometimes very social political issues, and sometimes very serious, whether it's gang violence, drug addiction. You see a lot of that kind of social political imagery or messages go into these murals. Well, I think that's what really started my life in social politics and where I really learned what it was to be a Chicano artist, and because the Chicano movement was during the peak of it was in the 60s, but yet a lot of like I wasn't around in the 60s, so a lot of the newer generations had to kind of be relearn or even be re-inspired by these types of political murals, and then learn its histories from beginning with Mexican muralists in Mexico, Diego Rivera and Siqueiros and Orozco, to murals in Los Angeles, like Los Street Scrapers, the LA Street Scrapers in Los Angeles, Wayne Healy, and an amazing, generation of public artists.
Let me go back to young Rubio there. He was one of the top of the ladder, I assume.
I was at the bottom, actually.
Go back to the picture. Let me see.
Oh, sure.
Young Rubio. Let's go back in the time machine. The question was going to be like, now your art's all over. You see murals everywhere in town. What was it like when you first started seeing your work out there represented in the community?
I think
which one are you?
I'm down at the lower left-hand corner.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's a lot of responsibility. I mean, just being able to first research and design was the first thing that I learned, at CCAO, and also meeting community needs by going out into the neighborhood, canvassing the area, talking to my community members, my neighbors, and finding out, getting input, finding out what their most important subject matter is that affects their life and their lifestyle there in the housing projects, because that was our target area, was San Antonio housing projects. So that's the way I really kind of got to learn how to be an organizer, an arts organizer, and just learn about my community members, and at the same time recruit young people, like I was recruited off the street when I was 16, and find out all those young little talented painters, where they lived, and looked at their drawings, like I showed them. So it was really important. I met a lot of really good students along the way, and in the next couple of slides, you're going to be able to see one of my mentees, I should say. On the next slide here, we have. It's not showing up. Oh yeah, that's me. Here I'm a little more older, and at this point, this is 1989, and I'm still with the Community Cultural Arts Organization, but by this time I'm already getting commissions to do mural work. So this was a commission by the San Fernando Cathedral, and again I was the lead artist, but yet I worked with a team of artists. One of my partners, I guess, was Alberto Ramirez, who's still in San Antonio, and also Vincent Valdez, who was one of our younger assistants. And I had met Vince at a mural program, at a mural job for the Esperanza Peace and Justice Center, which used to be on North Flores. Actually, that mural lasted for years. It was up there for a long time, and that was when we selected Vincent's drawing as part of like a art contest, and there's Vincent right there. And I selected his work, and again, exhibited extreme talent, creativity, but also he was a very wise young man. He was already, a veteran in spirit, I believe. And even now he's a very prolific and talented, artist. And I think that that is when mentors, or parents I think that's the first one that should be able to kind of recognize this kind of talent in students, parents and family members. I know my mother was always buying me art supplies. My tia, Mary, was always buying me like Crayola, even when I was a little kid. Crayola, everything, color pencils and paper.
Can you go back to the Vincent Valdez, right?
Vincent Valdez.
So about how old would you say he was when you first crossed paths?
When he
Or
was,
started mentoring you, I should say.
10 years old. He was 10 years old. I remember that, and that's when through the organization we had a lot of poster art contests, for young people, and sure enough, he helped me do quite a bit of underpainting, and I just taught him these very basic techniques, but he was able to pick up on it very, very quickly.
Wow.
And if you could show the Virgen de Guadalupe image, go back a slide here, not the detail where I was painting, but the actual image itself. That Virgin of Guadalupe, or the Virgen de Guadalupe, is actually a time when I was learning those techniques. So we were actually learning at the same time, given the age difference. It's not on the screen.
So he's 10, and at that time you were more or less how old?
I kind of keep forgetting. I'm not about age, but I think I'm more about experience.
Yeah.
And at this point in 1989, he was about 11 years old when he assisted on this project. This is the image that you're seeing on your screen here is the Virgin of Guadalupe commissioned by San Fernando Cathedral. On December the 12th, the feast day of the Virgen de Guadalupe, and she measures 13 feet high by 10 feet across. And I was traditionally, I guess, trained as a traditional oil painter, very blended and model techniques. And when I started painting this project, I wasn't comfortable with that. I didn't feel like I was I guess meeting that full potential of an artist, and almost like having a recognizable established style, and that's what you hear a lot of from young teenagers. Like, when do I get that that style, or that's my style?
How did that express itself in your creation? Like, did it just not feel complete when you put it on canvas?
Yeah,
or what was...
I felt incomplete, like as if I was getting, if I would grade my own paintings, I was definitely getting a D,
It's a great
I was like, it's a great effort, but it wasn't satisfying to me, and I think when I work with students, I try to remember that time when the work is being done and these marks are being made, that if that mark or that sound or that sentence that you create just means something to you on a deeper level, you should investigate it a little bit more, go a little bit further with it, experiment with that particular mark making a little bit more than you do, or actually kind of research, and that's the best way to do it, and that's what our school, our art school programming is geared to do, is to, I guess, foster that kind of inner creativity. So when I painted that first version of the Guadalupe, there was a week left to go on the deadline, and I repainted her, because one night I was on the scaffolding and I just started, I guess out of frustration,
Wow.
I just started hatching away at the canvas.
So how many weeks have you worked up until that?
Yeah, I only had like 3 weeks to do this image. So it took 2 weeks to do the first version, which I just totally did away with, painted over. It took me a week to repaint her. And one day it just kind of naturally happened. Those technically it's a very curvilinear line design. It's basically one solid color line over layers of lines, So when you get up close to it, you can see the line texture, but when you step back away, it creates an optical illusion where it becomes a form. And I think that those are the happy accidents, they call it in a lot of instructors, those very successful accidents or marks that the student just does naturally.
And so I'm sure the viewers that are familiar with your work and the ones who are watching now and who are gonna see the rest of his work today are gonna see those swirls become like a Rubio archetype.
Definitely, and that's where I first discovered, like, that mark making, that stylized way, mannerist way of painting, or applying paint to canvas, So keep trying, guys, students, and if you are just barely getting into painting, it does get frustrating sometimes, but just keep at it and keep making those marks, and if it feels good when you're applying this texture or these colors even, then keep going.
Okay, I got two questions. One I've been holding on to for a while. Back to 10-year-old Rubio, I just want to know, you're just starting out as an artist. Maybe you don't even know you're going to be an artist. What are you drawing at that time? What was your go-to medium?
Oh, my goodness, drawing. Yeah, actual pencil and paper. And I have a couple of images of the early drawings. Lorin, if you want to kind of flip through that. But my drawings were like the I guess the most important, media, at that time. Not just because it's a classical media, Lorin, if you want to see if you have any of the graphite body works like that, that's where it all starts, guys. Is pencil on paper. This image that you see here is the El Paletero, graphite on paper, and actually there's small drawings. It was in my sketchbook. So they're about 14 by 11, something like that. So it's small. Now I'm doing mural size work, of course, but and even my drawings are like 8 feet high by 4 feet wide sometimes. But back then it was affordable. My mom bought me pencils and paper, and I always had a sketchbook. Now I carry an iPad with an Apple Pencil, to as a sketchbook. But I think drawing is the origins to your painting. It's the skeletal structure to your painting. It's a blueprint to a painting or a sculpture. So I was pretty lucky enough to kind of realize that, and that's the first step. Is like figuring out a media or material, or an instrument if you're a musician. I think the second step is the concept. What are you going to draw, and what are you going to paint, and what are you going to write about, or make music about. That is the most fascinating part of being a young creative or an adult creative person that's just barely getting into or involved in the arts. And to me, it was my environment. My surrounding, my neighbors, my family member. Best friends there in the neighborhood, in the barrio, and so I started drawing these series of barrio works, I call it. And the barrio work is everyday objects that I see in the barrio. I just open my door, and growing up in the housing projects, we always had the paletero and the ice crinero, which is like another Chicano word, but the ice cream man or the paleta guy riding by, and I was going like. One guy had an umbrella duct taped to his paleta cart, and I was like, wow, that's really cool, like, man, it's kind of custom, and so I thought, well, what would my paletero, if I had to do a custom made paleta cart, or in this case, the image that you're seeing on your screen, maybe the El Callejero, which is an ice cream truck, El Ice Crinero. So these are images that are like passing by in my neighborhood every day. This image of the truck is actually a lowrider ice cream truck, just like the paletero. It's kind of a lowrider bike, paleta cart. In this case, the callejero, you can see the undercarriage, and it's all gold plated, lowrider rims and accessories, and it's got your traditional mural of San Antonio with Mayan and Aztec pyramids on the mural, and it's parked at a school crossing zone, kind of all jacked up on hydraulics, and because that's where they like to park and serve kids. So I thought, you know what, I'm gonna do my own version of lowriders, and just kind of have fun with it, just kind of have fun with it.
So
Um,
your inspiration, I was gonna ask what your inspiration is, but you said it's basically things you would see every day. But if you look at this picture, I'm trying to think of the word, it's visceral, it's very emotive. Is that just you powering your energy into what you see every day, or how does, I don't know if I'm making sense here, how does that?
No,
manifest?
totally. All those are really important, I guess, art descriptions, terminology, when you really kind of want to get down to, defining, how the artist kind of creates work, or, even conceptualizes color, and definitely the energy that I have when I'm doing these is I guess mirrored by its texture, which is line. Line is something that I use to create that energy, because if you look at the paintings, sometimes they almost look like a sound wave. It's like a sound wave is energy kind of emanating from a central point. So when I paint a line, that line starts off very thin and narrow, but as it flows across a surface, it gets wider and wider, and that also it creates and then it starts creating a form, an actual shape, and so in theory, I'm using line to kind of create surfaces and also movement, in line, the next image, I think, I'm not sure what the next one is here, because kind of had them a little out of order, but I believe it's a drawing. It's not on the screen yet.
Gotcha. Let me get that one up. And there's one that's not loading, unfortunately.
That's fine.
That's a black and white. Is there a different one that I can
There
you?
was a couple of other black and whites on there. Just kind of,
Gotcha.
you can
Okay.
just randomly choose anyone, because it's all a series. This is the body of work series, and I was influenced by lowrider culture. I remember going to the Camargo Park in the West Side, for the Centro Cultural Aztlan lowrider event. Traditionally, I was always going out there, and eventually had an exhibit at the Centro Cultural Aztlan with Vincent Valdez, even back then in the day, because he was always working with me even after the mural program, and he would work in my studio as well. So he would produce these drawings, and I was like, man, this is just amazing. We need to start exhibiting these works. So exhibition of work, even at an early state, is really important for a young person. If you slip to any other slide, I can continue on with whatever you got. But I think at an early stage, exhibition of the art is really vital to a young creative person who wants to continue their education in the arts. So we started exhibiting at the Centro Cultural Aztlan, when it used to be at the Las Palmas Shopping Center back in the day. And then we also had a show at the San Antonio Art League, which was downtown, which was a really early show, and some early drawings of Valdez and myself. And then even to the Guadalupe Cultural Arts Center in the early 90s. No, that's not it. But
So when you start exhibiting as an artist, is it like synonymous to a musician or some other performer when they first start getting on the stage? In other words, you kind of like jump ahead in your progress, or is it for you? Was your progress linear? Does that make sense? No, I phrased it wrong. So like when you started exhibiting, you hadn't exhibited before. Was it like? I guess describe it. How was life different pre-exhibiting than you're exhibiting and your work's getting out there?
I think people that are performers, when they first go out and perform, whether they're music or they read, their poetry in groups of people in public, or they exhibit their artwork. All those are those first steps, those primer pasos that these creative individuals need, And once we started exhibiting our work, there's Vincent. You see the screen there. That's Vincent Valdez. Now that we're, already a little older, and now Vincent is the mentor and the teacher. Because he graduated from high school and went on to the Rhode Island School of Design, and even his student work at that point when he was in Rhode Island, I was asking him to save that, because I wanted to exhibit it here in San Antonio. And so that, I think once a student starts exhibiting their work, it propels that I guess that energy and that inspiration in an individual, because you have people that will first enjoy the work. I think that's why I go to art galleries. It's like, I really love arts. I love looking at art. And then they start learning about the artist and their origins, getting involved in a public art project as a collaboration. That's where you start making those connections and networking. Even when we were really young, that was an important part of our process. These students that you see on the screen here, this is a Mural Studio, and these are my students that are assisting me on some mural works that are going on around San Antonio and abroad. Actually, the image that you see on your screen now is the Ellen Noel Museum in Odessa, Texas, and that's a Smithsonian affiliate. So these students are actually working in a Smithsonian affiliate project, and they can actually claim that they assisted Rubio on a piece of public art that is going to be adhered to the side of their building. So that's a very important portfolio information, So our portfolio started when we were 10 years old, and students that I've worked with, in my nonprofit organizations like Guadalupe Cultural Arts Center as their artists in residence in around 1998 to about 2001, with a teen program, they were able to claim that they were part of these mural programs. And Vincent was also one of the visiting artists at that time. So I hope that they have that documented. And documentation is one of the most important part of, as well as exhibiting and documenting your work and your participation in collaboratives like this one here that you see that you may be seeing on your screen here. And exhibition is that next stepping stone that you need on your resume, and I have mine here, as talking points, and you have to almost check off your experiences. Like I have like this mental list, like, well, I have a list of my experience, which are jobs, and I've always had jobs in the arts, including the Guadalupe Cultural Arts Center and San Antonio Cultural Arts Organization, which is a mural program there in the west side, off of Chupadera Street, and to most recently the Blue Star Contemporary Mosaic program, which is still here in Southtown neighborhood off of Probent and South Alamo. So that is the reason, I guess, the reasoning and for documenting your exhibitions and your performances. You build up this CV and this resume, and you're able to validate or quantify these types of exhibitions and works for future generations to read about, to like when they go to your San Antonio library, and also you go to the McNay Museum of Art, where I have a couple of drawings in permanent collection, as well as some prints at the San Antonio Museum of Art that I actually worked with students from Blue Star Contemporary, my students of Blue Star, and with another collaborative organization, the Stone Metal Press organization, which is no longer around. So we were lucky enough to have, San Antonio provide and also support some of these amazing nonprofit organizations and funding for our public art projects here in San Antonio.
If I hold this up, I don't know if there's a sequence, but can you talk a little bit about it?
Sure. Is that the only image that I have here?
You got one here too.
That's Vincent Valdez's image. So this is Vincent Valdez. And like I said, because of our experience, Vincent and I have been in most of these books. This is called, Papel. Sorry, I'm going to flip it over here. Papel Chicano, Works on Paper. It's a collection of Cheech Marin's collection of drawings on paper. And then I have this graphite image here. My characters are usually very, I like the word you used earlier, visceral, and there's a lot of energy, that kind of goes into designing these characters. And a lot of them are actual people and places in my life, whether they're guys from my neighborhood, or people that I meet, even having a little after hours, drink, they're you can show those two. This is from Los Tejanos, another book by Cheech Marin, and Tejanos focused in on the Texas artists that are in Cheech's collection. Vincent and I were one of the two of the youngest Chicano artists in Cheech's collection. Actually, I first met Cheech in 2000 when he gave me a call to come and see some of my artwork at my studio. So I think that there's Cheech right here, and actually that's one of the images in the Tejano books. This image that you see on your screen is with Cheech Marin, and also at the South Texas Museum of Art, where he opened Los Tejanos. This is Chicano Visions, a book about his major collection, which is mostly artists from Los Angeles, and a couple from Texas, definitely. And it opened up in the San Antonio Museum of Art in 2000. I believe it was like 2000, and the image is called La Lechuza, and she traveled the nation. These images traveled the nation for 8 years. They showed at the Smithsonian and major museums across the nation. So Cheech is such an amazing art collector, philanthropist, supporter of Chicano arts, that he donated one of each of these books to every high school library in San Antonio around that time.
That's cool.
Yeah, he's such a cool guy. Do you have any other images, art images that you might have there?
Oh, sure.
Do you have any anecdotes or funny things or any interesting things about Cheech that you're in person with him?
Well, the first time I met him he gave me a phone call in the morning, which was like 8 in the morning or something outrageous early, and it was funny because I'm like, hello, half asleep, and he goes, hey man, what's up? It's Cheech. And he goes, hey man, what's up? And I'm like, Cheech? I knew his voice immediately, because I grew up watching his movies. He goes, it's Cheech, man, wake up. And I'm like, what's up, Cheech? What's going on? He goes, hey, I'd heard you do this painting, man. I want to go see it. I'm going to be in San Antonio in a couple of days. So
but you didn't know him. That was just a cold call.
No, it was just, somehow he got my number from the art gallery and woke me up that morning. But that was the beginning of a really great, and that's one of Vincent Valdez's images there. And this is also in a art collection. This is called Arte Caliente, the collection of Joe Diaz, who Joe actually bought most of my early drawings. When I had just gotten started, pretty much early works. And my first lecture was at San Antonio Museum of Art when I was 20 years old. That was the first time I was at SAMA. And with the support of Joe Diaz, who's a local art collector here in town, and of course, already working through the city, with community cultural arts organization, and I had those kind of that network kind of connection, and I think that's why I have to document all these experiences and definitely give credit to my collectors and sponsors, and hope that these books, like this one here, Art in Our Doorstep, San Antonio writers and artists, and edited and by Nan Kuba and Riley Robinson, who's our director at the Art Pace Foundation here in San Antonio. Amazing, writers, artists, and this art as being documented and cataloged for our San Antonio youth, and definitely, hopefully, this the word gets out that San Antonio is on the map of contemporary arts in our nation. With these incredible collections and it's amazing artists that are fostered by our city government through public art programs or our high school education system through continuing funding of the arts, guys. I think that's one of the most important parts as a community member, is to support creative energy and education. I'm not quite sure how many more images I have there, but there's a lot of the abstract pieces that you might want to kind of move into.
As far as San Antonio being on the map art-wise, I know from personal experience, when I'd go to certain different art events or whatever, there'd be a lot that would come from Austin, because they say like it's respected more here. Like you get more of a. Go ahead. Sounds like it's.
Yeah, no. Well, I always said like, you go to Austin for the music, but you come to San Antonio for the art. Because I always used to go to Austin for the music.
I agree, but he said it.
I know. And I always get in trouble for that. But I would go to Austin. You can hold on to that image for a minute. The San Pedro Creek. Austin has, again, you have live venues for music. You have the music scene is very strong there. So I feel that way about San Antonio in visual art. You have all the nonprofit arts organizations, our city government, our funding. Mayor Ron, who's a really great, one of the most amazing mayors that I remember here. Very supportive of the of our arts and our public art, and then you have images like this. This is San Pedro Creek, which is the new San Pedro Creek development right off of Houston Street near the Alameda, Teatro Alameda. This image is called Aqua, and it's there's several public art pieces along that new San Pedro Creek development, and you see the construction going all the way down towards the south side. But it's totally worth it, because you're going to be able to enjoy, public art during these walks along our river walk, which, brings people to our city, which puts that San Antonio not just on a tourist attraction, but a visual art attraction and a fine art attraction. So I think that, with this piece, this is called Aqua. It's 60 feet wide by about 10 feet high in at its highest point. And it's printed on tile, which is amazing. My design is called Aqua. It's a blue painting, if you have it on your screen there, Lorin. Mm-hmm. I designed these paintings on canvas, and then I implement them into public art, whether they're printed on tile like this, or I paint them on a polytab material, which is a process that I learned from artists from Philadelphia. Those artists came down and shared their techniques with us, and were able to give us these extra tools that we need to create public art installations. So this is the design for our aqua painting, and it's acrylic on canvas. It's an abstraction, but if you recognize that Rubio style, we're going back to that word stylization. You can definitely tell these forms, these abstracted forms, start to create like these shapes and movement, and this kind of flow across the canvas because it's just curvilinear line design. But that's my kind of fascination with sound waves and energy waves, and I'm able to take this kind of abstracted design and use it on buildings to create movement, like the image that you may be seeing on your screen now.
This is a hemisphere, right?
This is at the Hemisphere, the new Yanaguana Gardens at the Hemisphere Park. This was in collaboration with Blue Star Contemporary Mosaic program. So I actually we actually paid our students to assist me on the underpainting, and then once they did the underpainting, I would go in and kind of finalize and do the final touches. But what a great experience for our students to be able to work with a professional artist and have that in their resume or their CV,
and they get paid.
And they get paid, It's and these murals are here for as long as hopefully as long as I'm around, because there's still, you can still find this mural there at Yanaguana, acrylic on polytab material on panel, and it's compositions in varying colors of blue and turquoise, just like the aqua is turquoise and blue, with hints of green. So the color scheme is kind of inspired by the environment, so if you're in a park, you see a lot of greens and natural green color, and whereas in aqua at the San Pedro Creek, it's a lot of aqua and blue colors because of that was inspired by the San Antonio River.
Gotcha.
You might want to show a couple more abstracts if you have any of those.
Let me know when Four Horsemen is coming up.
This one here, this is a design. If you see a red with a turquoise image, again, that this is my experience in color theory class at the university, and working with colors in collaboration with other lead artists. When I was the mural coordinator for San Antonio Cultural Arts, I would always have to kind of make sure that the colors come across as the artist's wishes and designs, and when I combine my colors with this curvilinear design, it just makes for, just a really fun optical illusion. I've heard it called eye candy, and the best place to take a selfie, because you have this background, but it's something that
it's not to sound weird but sensual, but it kind of pulls you into it.
Exactly, and some of these are titled that way, like Vortex. This is called Vortex. This is Vortex. It's a design for the mural on the Nolan Street underpass in the city's east side, and that was a collaboration. There we are in the collaboration with San Antonio Cultural Arts and Blue Star Contemporary Mosaic program. These are my students at Blue Star Contemporary Mosaic, and again, there they are working on underpainting, image transfer, and then they even helped me install these, which is another skill level that I offer students, is not just kind of, painting and doing underpainting, but learning about materials and supplies. That's on polytab material as well, which is adhered to surfaces. It's a very thin, lightweight material that's used in aviation. So the quality of the material has to be professional. It has to be the best quality, because these murals, like I said, are going to outlast me, and they need to be preserved for future generations to learn our stories, and our origins of starting off as a mentee, and then eventually becoming the mentor and the professor, and the master, which is an old school art term. But I think that with this experience, like through Blue Star Contemporary, which we have over 10 murals in San Antonio, while I spent my 13-year tenure with Blue Star Contemporary, 10 murals across our city in tile, in polytab, and some even painted directly onto a wall surface. But that's a lifelong experience that professional public artists offer our community.
So speaking of life, I'm sorry, Lauren, did you have something to?
Oh, no.
She's so quiet over there. Lauren is still here, y'all. Hey, your picture's not in the corner. What happened?
Oh yeah, throw up one of the abstracts in the background.
Oh,
And
gotcha,
title it
sure.
Lauren. Just kidding. Speaking of life, you said your mom plays a big role in your life. Do you want to talk about her or any other family that?
Yeah, like I said, these are family members and friends, that are in my early works. Even though some of them are anthropomorphized through, like, for example, this one, turning human beings into like these burros, because it was a drawing inspired by Buruland, which is an old hangout in the city's west side, kind of going down Zarzamora Street, Buruland. Even though they're characterized that way, they're still based on real events in my life. Like I actually was hanging out with these guys at Buruland, and sketching on napkins and just kind of scrap paper, as we sat there and hung out. So I think that my mother was like my main source of inspiration, because she was always like, draw me a picture, or draw your tia a picture, her birthday's coming up, little things like that, and my tia would buy me, art supplies and stuff like that. And one of my early stories, of course, is my mother saying, I came in and you had already used your crayons across the whole wall, you drew your first mural was across the whole wall, and instead of being angry with me, she bought me, my tia and her bought me butcher paper and covered the walls.
Wow.
And that way I could just kind of keep drawing on wall. And I think that was one of the best, inspirations for me, was her. But she always knew that this would be my future. She was very wise and very in tune with my upbringing and my development, of course. And she said, you're always going to be able to have work. You're always going to be able to have a job, because you have it in your hand. She said that, and I love that quote. And I know I've said it many times on other programs, but she said, cuando no hay trabajo, she said in Spanish, which sounds cool, cuando no hay trabajo en las factorías, el campo, las oficinas, tú siempre tienes trabajo porque lo tienes en tus manos. She told me that when I was a kid. She already kind of knew, that
For an old Spanish-speaking viewers,
that's where the talent was, So it translates. It sounds cooler in Spanish, but it translates into when there's no work in the factories and the fields and the offices, you will always have work because you have it in your hands, And I never forget that, and I say that still to my students to kind of, prepare them, for the lifelong, journey, if they really want to continue their education and and a career in the arts. This is a job. It is my career, and some parents might not understand that. They might feel like, well, it's a very tough career. It's a very hard job. it might not be that lucrative, and then, they worry about their students not making money and becoming a starving artist. And I'm like, well, I'm not necessarily starving, but it is a challenge, I would say. It is definitely a challenge, but I think that it's a fun challenge. I've had fun in all my nonprofit art working. I thank you all for that, and I've had a great time, and I feel honored by our local museums and galleries like Blue Star and Sama and the McNay, and all those people that showed that just like emulate respect for the arts and support for it. So it's a fun job. It's probably, in my opinion, one of the best jobs, in the world is being an artist, whatever your medium may be, And I always say, well, I'm going to be an artist for the rest of my life. I knew what I was going to be when I was really young, but I'm definitely going to keep doing it no matter what. Even during this lockdowns where funding is being threatened and cut nationally and even locally, but we probably found it some of the best time to get back into the studio, during our lockdowns and our shutdowns, and people that like me that want to respect space and want to make sure that everybody's healthy, and last couple of years have been probably some of the most productive times for my work through mural works and drawings that are coming out very soon, that you're going to be able to see some new Rubio drawings out there, out and about. And with San Pedro Creek, which is fairly new. It was pre-pandemic, but there's definitely some murals that are coming out. I have a mural of Vincent Valdez's father. It's the red one,
Okay.
with a portrait on there. If you could show that. This is one of my newest murals, and it's a mural that I decided to honor Mr. Arturo Valdez. Lorin, if you could pop that on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
Arturo Valdez, Ms. Valdez's dad, was elected to the school board for the SASD,
Okay.
and he's served there for many years, and I've known him ever since I've known Vincent. So one of the newest murals I have that you can actually go out and see right now is down South Flores Street, and it's. It depicts Mr. Valdez with a mask on. It was sponsored by the Metropolitan Health District, and also by the SMART organization through Yvette and Andy Benavidez's SMART organization there at 1906 South Flores, and it's another kind of public art announcement. I like to think of it as because it does have the logos. It has inspiring words to vaccinate, for health purposes, and to be aware of your community. And this community member is one of those unsung heroes. I think like a lot of artists are these kind of unsung heroes in our community. And I depicted him with a red mask, and in the mask you see a cardinal, and that cardinal symbolizes Vincent's mom, who recently passed away, who would take Vincent to her murals, every day. She would drop him off, and we'd work together on murals or work in studio, and they both were very supportive of the art. She was very supportive of his development as a fine artist, and his grandfather was actually a fine artist and a painter, an oil painter from Mexico. So I always respect these lineage in a way, and that's what these paintings are. These canvases and these murals are that San Antonio legacy, these lineages of these creatives in our town.
So about this picture, I'm just wondering if it's just stylistic or there's like maybe like kind of symbolism or meaning. I don't know what word I'm looking for. Where there's color behind them, and the front it gets, I don't know if that's monochromatic or how you would describe that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, monochromatic. Well, our challenge from the organization was to use red, black, and white. You know, that was our palette. So you're going to see a series. There's actually about I think 6 to 8 of these murals that were sponsored by Smart and also the Metropolitan Health District around San Antonio. You know, this is the south side version here. The Valdezes grew up in the south side, right off Nogalito Street. You know, so it has a lot of tradition. It has a lot of symbolism. You know, pertaining to an actual figure, an actual San Antonio historical figure, so to speak. And the background, of course, is just Rubio abstraction, you know, for fun, to catch your eye. And it's basically the natural way that I paint. So if you zoom into one of the figures, I don't know if you can do that, Lorin, zoom into the portrait, you see the same texture in that portrait that you see into that you see in the background. So those abstracted backgrounds are derived directly from a zoom in of all my figurative work. That's basically it, guys. The secret's out. I just kind of gave it all up, but that's what makes it so recognizable as a Rubio piece, even though it's abstraction, and it's still considered Chicano work, even though you know you're not seeing a figure in these abstracted pieces. You know, it's still Chicano work because it's done by a contemporary Chicano artist, and that's what I identify as. I identify as a contemporary Chicano artist, knowing that you know I didn't grow up in the '60s. You know, I wasn't around at that time, but you know I still kind of have that Chicano aesthetic in a way.
Chicano aesthetic, I like that word. Lorin, can you look for the Four Horsemen? I want to talk about that piece.
Oh, sure. It'll take just a second.
Yeah. And
The Four Horsemen, right here, guys.
Ooh.
I wish we had the music, but you can I believe find this online or through me. You can definitely find a copy through me. I still have all these copies. The album that you see there in front of you is titled The Four Horsemen. It's a collaboration between Rubio and Philip Luna, who is a local musician, composer. He's a genius. He is a living legend. Phil plays every single instrument that you know I've seen around his studio. He produces all the work. He has a sound studio, and he has he's been in several local bands, and he's just a genius. There we are on the dust cover, but I asked him to produce a 4-piece movement to my paintings. The paintings are entitled The Four Horsemen, and they most recently showed at the Centro, the what used to be the Alameda Museum. Okay. The one right down at the Market Square. It most recently showed there in an exhibit curated by.
I wish I'd known that.
Well, I know. You know, I think that you have to kind of. Ruben Cordova curated the Dia de los Muertos there, Dia de los Muertos exhibit, and he included this piece of Four Horsemen, who we had to borrow from my collector. You know, they had to kind of move it out of their bedroom, actually their spare bedroom. That's where it was. That's where it hangs. You know, so I think that you know these paintings also kind of are going to almost that San Antonio art history. I like to say San Antonio art history. This painting was inspired by the Oppenheimer collection at the McNay Museum of Art, and for a series called Artist Looking at Art, the ALA program or project. So I painted this Four Horsemen series, which measures 8 feet by 8 feet across. It's on 8 pieces of canvas. The heads detach; they're separate canvas panels, and it's acrylic on canvases. So it hung at the Oppenheimer Collection Room as I did a lecture in front of it, while Philip Luna's orchestra, he actually had a whole orchestra playing there in the yard at the McNay.
Oh, cool.
They said it was one of the largest, attraction of people that they have had in quite a while. The place was packed, and the music was amazing. So it's all instrumental, very classical, and Sunny, Philip's daughter, actually speaks words that are quoted directly from the Book of Revelations, which this image is kind of inspired from.
Okay, I was going to ask about that because
Yeah.
this is probably my favorite piece of art. I only say probably
Thank you.
because there's a couple of Dali pieces and stuff, but definitely my favorite contemporary piece. And I was always like, this is my first introduction to actually. I saw this. I forget what exhibit. I was like, I'm not going to say what I thought.
Wow,
it was
cool.
good. It was very good though.
How cool.
But, keep it PG, right? Do you want to play some Name That Tune?
Sure.
Lauren, are you ready for Name That? Is anyone watching right now?
Let me see.
Well, if someone is watching, you can play Name That Tune with chat.
Sounds great.
So the first up. Let's see. Lauren's thinking. You can see
I know what
Lauren's
it
thinking.
is.
What
I'll
is
let
it?
Lauren go first.
I know it's the Star Wars, but I can't remember which one.
Well, you got the
Star
answer.
Wars. Well, it's,
Oh, it's the Imperial March.
Ah.
It's Lord Vader's march.
Oh, Lord Vader.
The next two, I'll give a hint. If you know it, it's the first, or if you've heard it, the next two, let me get this out, is by the same group, and it's on the same album. The first one's going to be a little harder, but the second one, you might know it even if you don't know the band. So the first one, let's see.
That definitely has like a Led Zeppelin-y sound, you know. I don't know. I don't know the name of the song, but it has that like that Led Zeppelin feel, you know,
Yeah.
back in the day.
That's my man Jimmy Page. Yeah, that's actually
there you
called-
go, Jimmy Page.
Well, Led Zeppelin's.
Yeah, yeah.
And that one's Since I've Been Loving You. I think it was originally a vocal song, and they just did some incredible. So the next one, I'm pretty sure everyone's heard. Sing it. No, just kidding.
Lost.
You know?
This is a wild guess. Is this the Immigrant Song?
Yes.
What? You knew that? I could
Really?
not get that one.
And I just said sing it because like he does this like incredibly high, ridiculously high, awesome voice for it. Okay. Next one is a callback to what we were talking about earlier. So let's see if we can do this.
Now I don't know. Four Horsemen.
Yeah.
Not this Four Horsemen, but the
Metallica.
Metallica.
The Mighty
Yes.
Metallica's Four Horsemen.
Yeah, there we go.
Sweet.
Yeah, I'm totally into the Four Horsemen, so I knew that one right up. But literary translations is like I'm fascinated with like literary translations. So listening to reading books, and then visualizing images from books. Same thing happens with music. You hear the beat, and then that you if you really kind of focus, it almost creates these visual images in your mind. And some artists, some young artists, and I'm adult. I keep saying young because I'm so used to working with young people and mentoring young people, but they always wonder like, well, how did you come up with that? Like, how do you visualize? Well, listen to music. I listen to music, I read books, and I visualize, images from text. Poetry is another thing that inspires me. I love poetry, so poetry builds that visual image in your mind as you listen to it. So
yeah, it's holistic. Any of the arts. That's why, if you listen to something from the 20s or 60s, it's listen to something, check out the literature, look at the art. It's all kind of a zeitgeist feel to it.
Yeah.
It's got a little vibe that carries through. Nothing like our esteemed artist art, but San Antonio Public Library had a recent painting. You want to talk about that a little bit, Lorin, and show some footage, maybe?
Oh yes, you mean. Gotcha.
We're building this as
unveiling. Is this like a digital
probably
unveiling?
Probably thousands of people have seen it by this.
Oh, okay, good. Cool. Okay.
Spooky.
Interesting.
Spooky. That's the underneath of the scaffolding. I like taking weird footage. Not gonna lie. And she made it look like a 90s video like that.
I think I'm having heart palpitations.
We tried to get
It's
some
switching
to come
seconds.
sing that.
What are your feelings like?
Yeah, I mean, it's enchilada
Hey,
red.
can you hear me?
It's
Why
just
you
the
silent?
thing.
You can hear me.
Yeah.
Oh, they
It's
can
a
hear
silent
you.
movie. All right, so here we go. About color. There we go about color again. I use every color in the book. I'm a colorist, so.
Mhm.
Do they still call it
Enchilada red.
enchilada red?
Can they hear us, or can they just hear?
Yeah.
Okay. So that we can't hear it over here, but Lorin gave me a really good line. I used her line. I thought she was gonna say it too, and it's enchilada red, y'all.
Enchilada red. Okay. Yeah, I think everybody I've met has been calling it enchilada red.
And so now we got a
you know.
fresh new enchilada coat out there.
You should you should like actually make like little pints of enchilada red or something, and then
With a spicier
at
big red.
the art supply store, you just go
Right.
buy a little quart of enchilada red.
That would be awesome.
That would be. I think we ran. Do we have any other? We're working on some footage, so I don't know where it is in production land. Do we have any other footage, or are we just working towards footage?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, unless you want to look at the VR Turkish.
Oh, yes. I forgot.
That was
Let's
interesting.
Go for it. So
Yeah.
Lorin recently. Well, go ahead, tell us, Lorin. What did you do recently that you're watching?
Well, I was just exploring VR. It's really, really interesting. And so I found that there is a language tutorial that you can get from Steam, and it works with Oculus. It's called Mondly. It's very interesting because you're immersed. I mean, you can see at the beginning, you have to do a couple of things to really kind of practice. Like, they have to hear your voice because you're going to be interacting with people. It's kind of like being in a game. It's really, really interesting. And I decided to pick something a little bit different for me, so I picked the Turkish, which, I thought was kind of cool. See if I can fast forward this a little bit.
So the viewers can hear you speaking Turkish right now?
I think so. I really feel sorry for them.
This is a tutorial for them to speak Turkish, is what I'm understanding.
Right. So they put you in a bunch of different scenarios. And so this one is, you're ordering food. And our viewers can hear me really, really badly mispronouncing Turkish. But, it's really interesting. Some of it is a little, I would say, contrived. Like you have conversations with people that, I'm really shy. I would never talk to anybody else in a restaurant, but that's part of what they have you do.
What you should do to break out of that shyness is locally go speak to people in Turkish.
Oh my God.
Because then they have to break out of their shells and try and figure out what's going on.
Well, we'll see. I don't know if that's going to turn out really well, but...
They're like, wait, you're the VR girl.
I don't know about that.
Watch Turkish TV.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Turkish novellas.
Turkish novellas,
Ooh.
yeah. Well, actually, like, Spanish was my first language. I learned how to speak English through, novellas or soap operas with my mother. So yeah, it works. It actually works. Just watch. If you want to learn Spanish, just kind of watch some novellas.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, it kind of helped out.
That's amazing.
What soap operas are you talking to? Remember any?
My mom's?
Yeah.
Oh man, you know, all the classics, General Hospital and As the World Turns, and you know, because you know, I was like my mother had 3 jobs, you know, to support us, and you know, so I would go to. She did house cleaning in the afternoon. She worked at a molino, early in the morning, like 2 a.m, all the way through, and then she would do house cleaning, and she worked at the M&S Towers, you know, for a while there when I was really young. So I would have to go with her, and while she was cleaning houses, so I'd help her clean, you know. I remember those. So part of the time we're ironing, and she's watching novellas, and I'm like, what happened? What happened? What did I miss? You know. So you know, it's just that, you know, that parent, you know, figure that I had that was so awesome and powerful, that she taught me the meaning of work and you know, discipline, of course, but you know, just like it's inspired me to just keep going and keep working, you know, and I never forget her wisdom, words of wisdom. And now we have, you know, amazing artists, you know, that have gone through the challenge, that are still going, that our students are able to kind of pick that up from as well, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm really proud of everyone.
Sweet. Well, thank you so much for your time. Thanks for your awesomeness.
Thank you
so
guys.
much.
Thank
This
you,
was
Lorin.
amazing.
That was fun.
And the viewers, thank you so much for watching. We will check you out in about a month. Look on where can they find our listing?
I would go to the library's website and look at the events page.
Cool. Okay, bye y'all.
Bye, everybody.